Hey there, this is Perch, and we are talking about Year of the Villain #1. So this is billed as the most dangerous summer event starts here, and it really feels like kind of the free comic book day stories that Marvel would do before they're kicking off their events. So the idea is that we're gearing up for the villains taking over in a big, big way. And this is going to cross over with the stories that Scott Snyder has been doing over in Justice League and Tom King in Batman with Bane, and also Bendis with Leviathan. And it's a personal kind of side note to this. I can't tell at the moment. I mean, the marketing and the what we heard is that this was all very, very coordinated, and I'm sure it was. I'm sure there are some writer summits and people talking and getting kind of their plans in order. But there's a little bit of a feel here, to me at least, of the Scott Snyder kind of storyline, the Tom King storyline, and the Bendis storyline all kind of happening separately. That they were not, these writers all came up with their own plans, and then they're kind of loosely pulling them together under the guise of Scott Snyder's Perpetua and the Source Wall falling and Doom kind of taking over. So there's a little bit of, if this was all coordinated from the very beginning, then somebody wasn't completely on script, because these different storylines have some aspects to them that are kind of going in a little bit random directions. So anyway, let's kick right in. We got a really Jim Chung amazing beginning. Whenever he's on art, it's just brilliant. But we've got Amanda Waller walking into the White House, and she's going to confront the president. And right away, actually, this kind of leads to what I was just saying, is that currently she's on the run from Leviathan in the Superman comics and hiding out in the Fortress of Solitude. So her kind of showing up quickly in with the president. Is she briefing on Leviathan? No, she's briefing on Lex Luthor, and she gets there, and Luthor is in the White House, and this is probably the scene that that probably kicks off the whole event. Um, Unlike, if Age of Villain, Age of Villains, Year of the Villain. Sorry, too many little events. Um, so my take here is that this comic is going to either need to get reprinted, or they're going to be referencing this. I mean, there's an important moment here, and this is it, where Lex Luthor has come out publicly as a villain. The Legion of Doom has somehow gotten into the White House. They're not, to their credit, this is evergreen. There's no like Trump on the ground, or Obama or some other president. It's just, general. There's a president, and he's gone, and Luthor's sitting at the desk, and he's smirking, and for some reason we've got, I always wonder how these villains get in here. You don't see like a blown out wall, or I'm assuming they're teleporting in, but can you imagine like Gra- Cheetah and Brainiac and Grodd somehow getting through the doors? I don't know. I always look at these scenes like that and I wonder how they burst everything up, but somehow Amanda was able to open up the door, and this chaos. Whoa, whatever. And she's immediately, grabbed by Brainiac. Her brain has been kind of sucked out, the memories, and that's important data they need to complete their plan. So something bad has happened to her. We're assuming that. Unfortunately, I think we're going to assume that Waller's going to show right back up in Superman in the next issue, hanging out in the Fortress of Solitude, which will be a little confusing, but whatever. So with that information gained, Luthor's back, and he's ready to put his plan into motion. He's fired all of his staff. This is Luthor taking it to the next level. All kind of illusions of the last several years of him being a hero, playing a hero, trying to do the right thing, and even further back into his history of being a legitimate businessman are gone. Luthor's going to basically take over now. It's time for Doom, and we're going to see the full scope of his plan. One thing that kind of cracks me up about this is, so they attack the president. It's very public, the huge moment, and then he gets himself back to his building in Metropolis. So he's going from Washington D.C. He gets to Metropolis. He wanders into the building. The police are assembled outside, like the regular old police in their cars. And then, like, and the superheroes will be coming soon too in a few minutes. How are the police? I mean, the police in Metropolis are awesome. They're Captain Atom. I mean, you've got characters with the Flash, they're coming. Just hang on. But the police are like Johnny on the spot. They're there. Good for Metropolis, man. Metropolis PD. They need a comic book of them. They're clearly, bring that back. They're clearly the heroes we need right now. Anyway, so we get a brief, again, another Jim Chung, just beautiful picture of Bane, and kind of this is going to be the nod to Tom King's storyline where he's about ready to take over Gotham, and we get kind of a stepping back widescreen look of all the different villains. And this is an interesting picture here. Um, basically the point of this storyline is that uh, Lex Luthor is going to give an offer to all these villains that will kind of enhance their power. It will bring them up a notch to give them the edge in the battle against the heroes. The idea that it's been a pretty even fight, but now the villains are going to get souped up, and we get some interesting ones here. We get Lobo is in here. We get Solomon Grundy. We get the Reverse Flash. We get Black Adam. So I'm curious how some of these characters are going to come into play. The offer is going to be kind of this comic, this event, this moment that's going to sweep the comics. I'm curious how it will come off, because the offer should be just readily accepted, but they're kind of teasing in a bunch of the solicits that some of the villains are really going to wrestle with this, and you know curious how that will actually roll out, and what that will do. But anyway, so the heroes will understand what hit them. They'll Villains will coordinate a kind of simultaneous attack all at once with more powers, and overwhelm and flood the heroes. Captain Atom finally shows up. Good for him. Why Captain Atom? And you do see Brainiac teleporting there. That answers my earlier question of how they didn't mess up the White House decor. But they, they just as Captain Atom's like, we're going to kill you if you don't surrender right now. I like how he's just like, screw off, Luthor, we're done. And Luthor basically blows himself up. So in chapter 1, that's kind of the first wave. Meanwhile, somewhere else in Seattle, apparently. You could tell it's Seattle because it's raining. That's how. And then there's emerald coloring going on. That's always how you can kind of tell. So here we've got the Bendis part of the story, and immediately it's and Alex Malev, who's just always really nice, good art, good use of colors. He does great work. So Batgirl and Green Arrow are teaming up to go after Merlin. Merlin is scared. He's scared because Leviathan is coming to take everything out. And this is the storyline Bendis has been doing in Superman, which is, there's some villains. We feel like we've had this moment now multiple times where one of the villains is super scared because all the assassins are being taken out. And they're, using very Bendis words, it's a royal flush. And so there's some banter. Again, I hate this is something I always hate, and it's a shame because I met Bendis in real life. Very very nice guy, actually very nice guy. Went through some real health problems, came back, big good for him. I'm really that's great. That's a great outcome. Too many people have had their careers cut short, and he writes intricate kind of big things. So I mean, there's a lot to like about Bendis. I just wish the dialogue did not all sound like the same person. It's always, and like every character sounds like the same character. It doesn't matter. You can actually, if you just swapped Greeno and Batgirl's dialogue, it wouldn't matter. It actually, in fact, in some cases, it would make it more sense. Like this, are you trying to bribe us here with free helicopter rides? Where, like Bermuda? Those dialogue boxes should actually, that would be swapped a little bit. It would make more sense for those characters. It fits actually, kind of how Barbara quips and things. But anyway, so League of Assassins shows up, and big burst, and we're getting kind of an offer. This is not the same offer as the offer we just heard about in the previous chapter. This is a different offer, with Leviathan basically making an offer to Barbara, saying, we want to fix the world. Basically, we're doing this big takeover thing for noble reasons. And you see Barbara kind of considering at least what's going on. And then that flips us to a little page of back in the Batcave. Bruce and Damian are concerned that something has gone on. Bruce is going to send Damian out. This doesn't really feel like the relationship that Bruce and Damian have right now. And Damian's way of, of talking, how sometimes you get an idea in your head, a detective's theory, and you can't shake it until you prove it wrong. And until then, the idea just becomes more and more real. Okay. This doesn't sound like Damian. And so Damian basically is saying, "Hey, I think this new Leviathan threat is Red Hood of Gotham." Which, okay. Um, you know, the previous page we saw that this mysterious villain kind of has a red hood, but this feels like a red herring to me. You know, maybe not. Doesn't really fit with the Red Hood comic, but okay. And then chapter 3. So chapter 3 is kind of back to more of the Justice League storyline. So it's fitting more with chapter 1. This is James Tinian and Francis Manapul. In a lot of cases, Manipul's doing his own colors work again here. There's some areas where this really kind of plays nicely. This is almost a recap of the Source Wall threat. So if you haven't been reading Justice League, this will be a little confusing, but it's also kind of intended to catch you up a little bit on what's going on. The big threat of Perpetua. That name Perpetua, I can't shake that it feels like the kind of medication you see offered on late night TV. Like, do you have depression? Perpetua. Perpetua will help you. Perpetua may cause internal bleeding. Please be careful. Talk to a doctor about Perpetua. That's kind of I can't help but think that whenever I read this name, it's just it's just there. But then we get a really nice splash page of Batman saying we're going to war and showing the entire kind of League of Heroes here and everybody that's there, and that's pretty awesome. Again, this is where the color, really nice use of color, good big image, nice characters. We're gearing up for this threat. We see Catwoman here. I think we saw Catwoman on the other page with the villains as well. So that's plays into the dynamic of where will she fall. And then Perpetua has been in this little tube. She's like, I'm breaking out, and she's got her little Saturn planet necklace, and she sees the other villains, and we get the Batman Who Laughs. That is the creation of the of the last 2 years for sure. They're just going to the mill with that character, but we then see that she's looking at a naked Luthor who's being merged with some Martian DNA, it appears, and he's kind of being reborn as a stronger villain. And Perpetua is calling him her son and her chosen son. So Luthor is definitely at the center of this event. So cool. Then some ads. That was the comic. So it's good to kind of tease the appetite. You kind of get a sense of what's coming. The villains are going to show up and really screw things up. And then we get the event continues. We get some, Justice League, event Leviathan, which is going to continue Bendis' storyline. Batman's continuing Tom King's, and then Batman Superman, which is unclear how that fits into what we just read exactly, other than the Batman Who Laughs is going to form a new Secret Six of converted or infected heroes that are going to kind of convert over to villainy. So we're getting a bunch of villainy. All right. So, then we get some nice little extras here of some designs, some things that are going on. We get a little bit of look of the new Martian hybrid Lex Luthor. It's top secret, but it's funny with a bald Luthor. You got the silhouette here. It's like, okay, maybe he'll be a little greenish. I'm assuming. I guess so. There's not a lot of top secret to put in here. He's going to have a mouth and eyes and a nose, and there you have it. We get some comics, and we get some here's what's coming. What can Lex offer former sidekick Jason Todd? That's the Red Hook solicitation, which again makes that Bendis twist from Damian seem really odd. There's parts of this that feel like the coordination was, hey, we're gonna just tell a bunch of villain stories. So you've got a villain story, and you've got a villain story. So let's just amp it up to 11. Everybody tells a big villain story, and it's hard to tell how coordinated this is going to be. And when you read the solicits, you see that you've got the offer showing up in Batman and Catwoman and some other things. And then you've got in Action Comics, the Invisible Mafia holds a death grip on the Metropolis underworld. Lex pays visit to their criminal organization. So there's some coordination going on, but you can't quite see it yet. Right now, it feels a little bit like there was a Leviathan story from Bendis, and there was this Perpetua story from Snyder, and there was a Bane story from King, and they're like, okay, let's kind of make these things work together and kind of smush them up a little bit. Um, who knows? The Bendis story feels like it's going to go for a very long time. It feels like we're multi years into that one, and the King story we know is more or less going to 100. So we've got about another year and a half, a little about a year and a half at least that's going on to there, and and it's hard to tell. Scott Snyder is doing the Perpetua stuff with Justice League, but we've got he's claimed at least another 25 plus issues. So these things are all going, and it's all good, but a little bit hard to tell kind of what where this all rolls out. But as a step forward, it's pretty powerful. It's definitely doing what I've asked for, which is let's get some villains into the mix. Let's really truly get some villain stories and and play with that. And I think that's heroes in comics sell better when there are threats, and this is claiming that it's going to bring the threats. So that's a good thing, and we'll see how it rolls out. Anyway, that's my quick review. Hope you get a chance to put your hands on this comic, see what you think. Is this exciting you about DC's future? Is it what part of it do you like best? Are you looking forward to more of the Tom King side, the Snyder side, the Bendis side? What interests you? Would love to know. Leave me your feedback and your comments below. Subscribe, notify, hit the bell for notification. Make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube seems to drop people off randomly at different times. Don't know what's going on there. Apparently, this is a known problem, but whatever. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.